You all, it's Mother and Queen of Self-Love. It's 2200 Central Standard Time. And I just been sitting here. I was supposed to come on here live and do a whole Bible study. And this place that I live in is so much scrupulous activity going on that it really makes me feel uneasy. And if my body say I need to rest, I rest. Because God has already, placed on my heart a long time ago within my healing journey that I refer to as a self-love journey, that rest is imperative. Rest is imperative. And I've often seen that in the cases that I had to document as a claim specialist for Social Security Administration and as a service representative for Social Security Administration. When people shared their stories with me, I will never forget this one lady who shared her story with me, and I'm sitting over here documenting her work and when she worked and everything and her medical conditions, and I had to stop the lady within mid the interview, and I'm like, wait, ma'am, this isn't making any sense. When did you sleep? And this woman, as well as other claimants, told me that they will only sleep on their 15-minute break. So you damn near working 24 hours round the clock. And she said, yes, ma'am. And then I had to go home and fulfill my wifely duties for her man that was sitting on his ass. Hence the feminization of poverty. Hence why there needs to be discussions on race relations, because we have women in positions of power who are acting just like the men. And this is what I mean by the women want to have the rights of the men so bad that what they end up doing is sacrificing their sacred dignity, you all. They sacrifice their sacred femininity. They sacrifice their sacred femininity, and so they become a transvestite in the motherfucking mind. All right, so that energy, that sacred feminine energy, has to go somewhere. And guess where it goes to? It's actually going to go to a man who wants to be a woman. And oftentimes these men that want to be women, they end up being black women. They end up being just like a black woman. Switching out wigs. Not saying there's anything wrong with wigs, baby. If that's you, do you. If that makes you happy, do you. But make sure you're doing it for you. And that's what a lot of people aren't doing. They're not even realizing that the reason why they want their hair to look a certain type of way is because of the derogatory messages that are placed in the entertainment industry about certain women of certain colors with certain hair textures that end up developing stereotypes, because men often are physically attracted to their counterpart more so than what's on the inside. The first thing a man that's going to attract him to finding a good thing is how it looks. And so oftentimes what is good for the man is actually discredited as bad without them even understanding what is good and what is bad, which is why when the Bible talks about Adam partaking from the fruit of knowledge and that it was forbidden to take from the fruit of knowledge, the fruit of knowledge was a spirit that he partook in. It wasn't necessarily a fruit. The forbidden fruit was the thing that tempted him, and God told him to have authority, to have dominion over the animals of the field. But yet Adam, because he was so intrigued by the noise that the snake made when it rattled, that he began to get into a tantric state because he constantly placed his attention on that snake instead of doing work. He's supposed to be doing work to bring home stuff for Eve to make, and he's not even doing that. And when he come home, he's not having the things needed because he been spending all his time on the goddamn snake. So he instantly developed some type of envy towards Eve. And during those times, because it was the beginning of times, the mind wasn't developed enough to understand what envy and what jealousy was and how it how it acted and played out in the lives and in relationships. And so it often got mistaken as something evil, as something wicked, as something bad. So again, I'm going to get back to the story. Adam became envious because Eve did everything that she was supposed to do as his helper, and yet he fell short time and time again because his attention was elsewhere. So when he finally got bit by that goddamn snake because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, guess what he kept saying? He kept saying Eve's name. Eve, 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 Eve. So the snake, because they had developed a tantric relationship similar to the tantric relationships that are involved in adultery and fornication, because of that tantric bond that was formed between Adam and the snake instantly attacked Eve because that was his counterpart, similar to what a lot of these snakes that operate behind the scenes and shapeshift, like they're really your person to try to take you away and claim staking. I got your man. Salt and pepper. I love y'all. But that song right there created what is now Mother&Qween. I am the product of an extramarital affair, and the reason why so many people in my family hate me to this day, because of the anointing that was placed on my life, because God knew, my grandparents knew, that the vengeance of people who were ignorant of what really happened behind the closed doors. And my father led me on to tell me that, actually what happened is that they were having what they call sex parties. They were having nasty people parties and group parties where they partook in tantric activities that involved swapping bodily fluids. That is what my father shared with me. That is something that he said, and that it was a tit for tat between his wife at the time and my mother. It was a get back. So it's just really strange how when people actually birth children out of abominations, how those children often become children of the light to expose what's really going on. Because these people were under judgment by their parents. And that's why my grandparents didn't leave them anything, because they saw the scrupulous activity that they were involved in, and they knew it was not in direct line with how they were raised. My grandparents knew that their children were possessed, and I'm going to advocate not only for justice for me and my daughters, but for an investigation to be done on the deaths, most importantly, of my grandmother, because my father also shared with me that there were people in the family that was stealing money from my grandmother and forcing her to go to the bank and withdraw money. And I'm guarantee you, if they did that, and my father also disclosed to me that there were fights over what was left. There were fights amongst the people in the family, amongst money that was left, that they could not come up on an agreement. And I know for a fact that if people in my family, these same people that have been following me, took my grandmother to the bank to withdraw money, which means the banks was working with these people in my family to steal the money from my grandmother, who was damn near senile, which that is abuse of elder, and that's a serious crime in this country. And the banks were in on it. That if they did that, then they tried also to get my grandmother to change the will. And then since they could not do that, they figured they'll kill her, so they can eliminate her out the equation and focus it on who she left everything for, a grandchild that they felt was not deserving of it, especially a grandchild that was born out of an extramarital affair from someone that was considered a hoe, my mother, which she was, and I got proof of it, which is why we always lived next to a Navy base, Period. And so that same woman is the same woman that brings up accusations behind closed doors that I am doing those scrupulous things, that I have a hidden addiction, when in reality, this is a woman who has a hidden addiction. And when she moved us to the suburbs of Illinois, when I was in high school, I had to get on her about her addiction because her addiction was making me feel so uncomfortable. Her addiction made me feel uncomfortable as a child. That when I approached her about it in a very civil manner, she lashed out on me just like a demon and began to do what those prison guards who sought to torture me did in Norfolk, Virginia. They kicked, punched me in the head, choked me, and tried to hang me. And make it look like they was taking a picture of me while they were choking on me. Like I was standing up taking a picture or lying down. They had me in the air with their hands around my neck, choking me. They kicked and punched me in the head as well. And I realized certain behavior patterns of violence amongst those who are on the 666 bandwagon, because they're possessed. And that is one of them. They like to attack the head because there's a Bible prophecy that says that the chosen ones will actually plunder the snake's head and destroy it completely. So they figure they'll beat the chosen ones to the punchline. And it'll never happen. And it'll never happen. So I guess at the end of the day, the message got delivered that was supposed to get delivered this morning. But know that if I don't come on board, that's why my messages and everything that I do is bespoken. And I've been clear on that about my brand for a long time now. Just a lot of y'all haven't been following me enough to even understand. And so that's why you need to review everything before you approach somebody like you know what you're talking about. Because if you don't, then you're probably going to get your feelings hurt in the court of law, even whether it be in the spiritual court when karma come back and pop you upside your motherfucking head because you didn't hit a dead end. And you don't. And the first thing when people hit a dead end, they think about is me, Mother&Qween. Baby, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm chosen. I'm delivering messages. I'm ministering. And I tried to save you at one point in time until you showed me who you really was. I didn't want to take no chances and have you attack me like them demons back in the day did. That would never get an opportunity to do that shit ever again. Neither will you. Peace, light, and love.